Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast. My name is Pia, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm here together with
Martha. My pronouns are also she, her.
And Martha, you've been on a very exciting trip lately that we're going to talk about now. You visited the Kerry King listening session and you also met the King.
Yes, I met the King and I met him on a castle, so it's going to be a really interesting story.
How did your journey start? How was it? Tell me everything. I want to know everything about it.
Yeah, so the event was on last Thursday. So on Tuesday, you told me about this opportunity to go to a small town near Stuttgart and do a short interview with Kerry King and listen to his new album from his new project in a castle. So I was just on my way back from Berlin, actually, and my mood was super sleepy. So I wanted to do anything else but like go on another trip, but I'm very happy I did. So I went to Stuttgart and got picked up at the airport together with Rich Hobson from Metal Hammer UK, who's also a really cool guy. And we went to this beautiful restaurant and hotels like in the middle of nowhere. So other press representatives from all over Europe were there, super international vibe. So on the drive, I already knew that I would have to interview Kerry King probably right after we arrive. So I wrote the questions on my hand in case I get so nervous and I forget the questions I wanted to ask him.
I saw the picture on your Instagram and I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, I'm like better safe than sorry.
But the case is you have your phone in front of you to record everything. So it's not an option to write it down on the phone and then read it out from there.
Yeah, so then I went into the room and Kerry entered and sat down next to me. And it was just super nice, open and straightforward person. So I feel really happy like I met him. And yeah, I don't know how many interviews he's had that day already, but I think they started pretty early. So it was like going in and out of interviews and he was super professional about it and also super fast. So I prepared 3 questions and we had 10 minutes, but he was done after 4 minutes. I was like, okay, that's all. And yeah, so why don't we jump into the first question?
Yes, let's do that. But let me add before that, I had an interview with Kerry King, I think about 15 years ago or something. He was in Hamburg with Slayer. And I also only had a very short time slot and I prepared some more questions, but we were also done after 10 minutes because he gives very straight answers. You really can see that he's a professional. And also we were only allowed to ask 3 questions. So of course we had more, but they were like, you can ask your 3 questions and that's it. So that's why we quote unquote only have this short statement by Kerry King, but I think he said a lot within this 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. So let's listen to the first question.
Okay, great. Thank you for having us.
Of course.
So I'll jump right into it. Your upcoming album deals with topics like religion and war. So what's the most important message on your album?
I don't know that there's a message on the album. I'm not that kind of person. I like to bring things to a conversation. Say, for instance, I've been talking today about, I think a lot of people are born into a religious belief based on being handed down from their parents, friends, whatever. What I like to present to people is, ideas that if that makes them question what they believe, what they were taught, I think everybody should make up their own mind. And if at the end of the day, that would be my message. Make up your own mind, be it politics, be it religion. Just be your own self.
For saying that he doesn't really have a message, I think it's a really strong message.
Yes, my thoughts exactly.
Yeah, so what do you think about it?
It's really old school because that's also the vibe of many punk rock bands and also from the classical heavy metal bands, that they kind of tell you to make up your mind, to think of your own, to use your own brain. Not only the old school metal, but it's kind of the vibe of the metal scene. Especially when we talk about religion, maybe that's where it all starts, that people were oppressed by or felt oppressed by these religious boundings that their parents maybe put on them. That's also the beginning of the Tenacious D movie. For those who haven't seen it, there's a young Jack Black, and he grows up in a very religious family, and that's the reason why he leaves, because he's into heavy metal and they tell him to think of his own and do his own stuff. And then he says, okay, I grab my guitar and never come back. Also, what he says or what he answers to the next questions is also, it gave me this old school vibe, and I think that's a very cool thing.
Yeah, but I also had a thought, like, it's still relevant today.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that really doesn't get old, even if like other kinds of metal music really evolve. But this message, it's still good. Like, it's not old or irrelevant or anything.
That's also something that we say in this podcast, maybe not into the direction of religion that much, but regarding politics, it's more or less the same, that you shouldn't just take everything for granted that the political parties say or what specific people say. You should go more into detail and make your own opinion about things, and then look for the party that fits that the most, but not only based on what they say in their claims and everything, but maybe read what they say in their program and stuff like that. So I think that's still important. And also, what I think is very cool is that he doesn't say religion is a bad thing, because I think it's not a bad thing. You can take what you need from that, and some people take motivation from religion or stability, or that's their safe space, and that's totally fine. And he doesn't destroy that, or he doesn't say, when you listen to my music, you should be a non-religious person or something like that. And that's something that I think is also really cool from him.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, should we proceed with question number 2?
Yes.
The next question, working as a solo artist, were you able to realize something in your music you always wanted to do, like a new influences, new styles we can hear on your album?
Realistically, my influences were influences 40 years ago, and they still are my influences. And along that way, did I pick up more? Yeah, absolutely. But I think in doing this project, it's just the next record for me. Like, I didn't have anything that I wanted to achieve that necessarily I hadn't achieved. I just want to make up the next batch of music for people that I think are my fans, that I think they would like, because Slayer has a gigantic amount of fans, and if I make 95% of them happy with what I do, I think I had a good day.
That again shows he is very down to earth. I'm also very happy for him that he can say, I achieved this for me and I do exactly what I want now for my fans.
Yeah, but also this big part of keeping the fans happy. Like, later at the Q&A, he also said like that everybody who buys their music is like paying their bills, and like that, he works for them, and that I also like that he has this connection to them. And it's just like he's giving everything back to them what he received. So it's a really nice thing to do. Like, some artists are like, my self-expression is the most important thing, and I will go into a completely different direction with my music, as they should, of course. But like, if the fans don't like it, like, it's their problem, but I have to express myself, and it's the most important thing to me. And for him to have this exactly opposite approach of putting the fans like at the top, I think it's a super like kind and nice thing to do.
On the other hand, it also sounds a bit sad, like, yeah, I just do this to pay my bills. I remember I had an interview with Fieldy from Korn, and he was not that enthusiastic like Kerry King sounds. Like when Kerry King says, I do this because I like it and my influences are the same like 40 years ago. With Fieldy, it was more like, yeah, it's my job and I have bills to pay, and that's why I do this.
Yeah, okay, that's like the other extreme.
Yes. For Kerry King, it sounds more like a kind of dream job for him to do this. But the thing that he's aware of, he has to also, quote unquote, please his fans. I think that's also important because there are so many people out there, just like you said, who say, this is my music. I do this for my personal expression. And I don't really care about what my fans think about this. Is what you, of course, can do when it's your hobby. If you want to put this on a professional level, then you, of course, have other priorities, because then you have to stay in the game and to stay up there where the headliners are, or work your way to the top and stuff like that. And then you can't say anymore that you don't care about the opinion of your fans, because you need them.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But yeah, living your dream and like, yeah, being appreciative of that dream. I think he's a really happy person. So should we go on to question number 3?
Yes.
And so the final question, is there anything you want to achieve musically or personally with your new solo project?
Musically, not really. Just keep putting out music that translates between me writing it and the fans liking it. The thing that I can't wait for, which is a lot closer than I expected. I was told today our first show's in like 10 days. So I got to go home and rehearse. But I'm looking forward to playing with the guys, because even though we've done a video, we've never actually played together all at once. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And that happens Sunday. I fly home Saturday, and then I got to fly to the West Coast Sunday and start rehearsing. So I've got a big week. But that's what I look most forward to these days, is getting in the rehearsal room and then finally getting on stage and showing the new band to everybody.
Yeah, that again is this old school vibe that I want to be with the guys on stage playing music. And I was a bit surprised that they didn't play together before.
Yeah, me too. But on the other hand, I think it's like normal for professional musicians just like to get together before a show. So I know this of the Euroblast festival, like if you have these crazy good prog bands and they form like a super group, and then I don't know, they have like the first rehearsal in a rehearsal room somewhere in Cologne before Euroblast festival. Like, yeah, but it does work out. So yeah.
Of course, because as you said, they are professionals and they just know how to play their instruments and everything. So
also I imagine like, I don't know, maybe like half of Kerry King's life was on stage or in rehearsal rooms. So yeah, if this is such a big part of your life and you play so many shows, so yeah, maybe you miss it when you stay at home for too long.
And it also shows that is why people do music, being on stage with people they hopefully like and to express themselves with their music. But as you see, he came to Europe from the US and he had to go back the other day, he said, I think. So he really has to work very, very hard for what he achieved. And that's also something that you can, quote unquote, read out from this answer he gave. Yeah. But also a very interesting and important fact. But how was it for you? How was it in general to meet Kerry King? Was it just going in and going out again, or did you have some time for small talk or whatever?
No, it was really like quick in and out. So I also didn't want to like impose on his time or anything. So yeah, I just tried to be respectful. And yeah, but I feel like at the end of the day, I understood so much more what Slayer, what Kerry King, what his solo project and everything is about. So yeah, that was also really interesting. But yeah, I will tell you about the rest of the day because it still gets very interesting. after the interview, we had a little downtime with coffee and food. And then we went to this very old castle not far from the hotel. And there was a fireplace and there was a big fire and drinks and a little photo booth. So yeah, they designed everything also really cool. So, and I'm still laughing about the king on the castle joke. Like that's my kind of humor. And yeah, so everybody could take a picture with Kerry, and then we went into a kind of vaulted cellar for the listening session. And yeah, so we were listening to the entire new album with Kerry present. So I've never had that, like, listen to an entire album of someone and the person is like, I don't know, standing somewhere behind me. That was a really, really cool experience. Afterwards, we had a Q&A session, and Kerry was still talking, very openly about all topics, especially how the album is very close to the new Slayer record because he wrote most of the songs for the new Slayer album, which then in the end never happened. And so a highlight for me was a question during the Q&A about emotions on the album. And he basically replied that he's Kerry King and he doesn't have emotions, which is such a stereotypic thing to say. But yeah, he is such a caring guy, honestly, and who does a lot for his fans, keeping them happy. And yeah, also he told a story from the album about a situation about a soldier in war and like how he feels like and how he's perceiving the situation. And then he asked a friend who has lived through this experience about it. So to me, that does sound emotional.
Yes, and when I did some research also because we talked about what could we ask Kerry King, then I also found out that his wife actually is an intersectional feminist. I don't want to say that because of that automatically also is an intersectional feminist, but when you are an intersectional feminist, then you're not wife of an asshole.
That was exactly what I thought about it as well.
So yes, cool guy. And of course, he probably put his emotions somewhere between the lines.
Yeah, another funny story from the Q&A. We were all laughing really hard because the interviewer asked him about the musical influences on the album because somebody sent in a question and it was said that one of the influences is also punk rock, and it was in the context of like his music evolving, and he like bluntly replied like, punk rock doesn't evolve, that's why we love it. I was like, yeah, that is very true actually. And then I don't know, he was going on about like other bands like being labeled as punk rock, but I don't know, maybe it's technically like, I don't know, like pop punk or something. It was really, really funny.
I had this question once in the context of heavy metal, if heavy metal evolves somehow. And when I thought about it, I came to the conclusion that whatever you put to heavy metal, you change the genre. So if you put keyboard or orchestra on it, you have symphonic or melodic heavy metal. Or if you put harsh vocals, you have death metal and so on. So yeah, it's the core of everything. So metal came from punk rock, so punk rock doesn't change. That's also logic somehow.
Yeah, that's true. So another story was related actually to Vladimir Putin. When he wasn't as relevant as he is unfortunately today, he stayed in the same hotel as Slayer did, apparently. And so there was like, I don't know, like people swarming around everywhere, like the Secret Service. And yeah, so he told this story and he made it very clear, like what he thinks of Putin and the war and what he's doing right now. And I found that was like very political and I didn't expect that from the event, but I'm like really happy that he did.
Yeah. And that again shows that he's not the music only bad guy, so to speak, that he maybe looks like.
Yeah, there was so much more I could talk about for hours, probably. So I think the whole Q&A will be on the YouTube channel of the Reigning Phoenix Music, Kerry's label. And so I really recommend listening to it because it's just a really cool experience. He's a really nice and also very funny guy. So there was a lot of laughter during this Q&A. And yeah, so if you're like a young person in metal, like me a tiny little bit. And I don't know, you haven't had that much, I don't know, to do with Slayer except for the Raining Blood song, maybe. Yeah, just check it out. It's a cool thing to do, cool thing to listen to. And I heard the whole album during this listening session, and my first like instinct was this sounds a lot like Slayer. Like this is nothing different, nothing new. It sounds a lot like Slayer. Like, I hope nobody crucifies me, but I also thought it sounded like a little bit better. So I don't know. It was a little higher, energetic, and yeah, maybe also a little more versatile. But I think like, yeah, other musicians do bring differences to music, even like if the music is written by the same person.
It was fresh.
Yeah. And also, like, for me, also as a musician, it's really nice to hear like a more old school production, but which is like very rich. Like, the drums on that record, I'm pretty sure they were recorded on an actual drum in a nice room. So, not like with, I don't know, like most metalcore bands having like MIDIs put on a like a pre-recorded drums or something. I mean, they do sound really good, and sometimes you can't even hear the difference. But like, there I had this feeling like, yeah, this is like this really big production, which is like worthy of a legacy like that. So that was really interesting to me as well.
The singer of Sodom once said there is some magic happening between the amp and the microphone when you record it like that. So I guess that's also the case with the drum kit and the microphone, that something else happens than when you just put it with, as you said, the modern productions with the MIDI files. So you listened to the whole album, which will be out on May 17th. There is 2 songs out until now, I think.
Yeah, there are 2 songs out already.
So a bunch of more songs to come. How many songs are on the album? Do you remember?
Not from listening to it.
But I think I also read that he has another album written already.
Yeah. He already said that. Basically, they just have to, add a little more things and then go back into the studio and then do the second record. So, yeah. Also, what an output. Like, but yeah, I guess if it's your main job and that's what you do all day, that's what you do.
Yes. And also there are some festival slots where Kerry King plays.
Yes, and we'll see him at Tuska Festival in Helsinki, Finland.
Right. So yeah, is there a kind of conclusion or anything else that you want to add about the album or the experience or anything?
Definitely that I had once again one of these moments where I was like, okay, I wasn't into something, and then I got deeper into it and I really liked it. Being like a metalcore child deep inside of me, I don't know, I never listened. I don't listen to thrash metal on a regular basis. And I will definitely reconsider doing that, and also like to open my horizons to new things. And it was just really nice meeting him and like seeing that he's just a really nice and no bullshit person. So I also very much like these kind of people, and knowing that they're like this high in the industry is also a really nice thing to know.
I know what you mean, and I also don't really listen to the bands that started heavy metal, but for me it's also funny when I listen to their releases, maybe also older releases, then I'm like, oh, they sound like band whatever that I like a lot. And then I think, oh no, the band that I like got inspiration from Slayer.
Yes, exactly.
that's always a cool thing to experience as well. So I will definitely also listen to the album when it's out. I also never was that much into Slayer. Of course, I kind of followed their career throughout the years and listen to them now and then. But I'm not like you. I'm not a thrash metal person, but I think that also what you said, that it's fresh and that it's a bit more modern, or the next. Yeah, it's a bit mean to say the next step from Slayer, but that he also transformed a bit. I'm really interested in what it sounds like now.
Yeah.
So thank you for going on that trip for us and for interviewing the King and bringing his opinion also to this podcast. People out there, listen to the album. It'll be out on May 17th, and we will also put the Q&A in the show notes once it's out. And follow us on wherever you listen to podcasts, and also on Instagram. We are the Bleeding Metal Pod. And you can also find our personal Instagram in the show notes. And thank you for listening. And
Thank you.
see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.